Hey, Gary, what
Yes,
do you
sir.
do to improve your jiu-jitsu off the mat?
I like to review. And the way I do that is if I go to a seminar, usually 50% of it falls out of my head and I can't remember anything. So I like to go back and review those seminars at a later date.
Yeah, I wish there was a easy way to retain some of that information, whether we are in a class or a seminar, particularly seminar when they are longer and more complex. There's more layers as the instructors are showing techniques. I wish there was a way so we can go back and review all the details. Is there?
Yeah, I think there is. And the way I do it is Roll TV. Tons of stuff to review, and it's really a great platform for anything you need.
We've built this platform for over 2 years now, over 500 videos, anywhere between techniques, expert lessons, and we have huge guests like Christian Woodman C and Sophia McDormand and many others. And then also all the live events recorded at the Academy are fully available on RŌL TV. So if you're looking to improve your jiu-jitsu or you're looking to review things from the class or seminar, RŌL TV is a perfect platform for you to gain access to. Go to rollacademy.tv, create your account, gain the access, and continue your jiu-jitsu journey.
Yeah, check it out. It works wonders. On this episode of Roll Radio, we have a member of the first family of BJJ, Rolles Gracie. Practically born on the mats, Hollis, when asked of his first recollection of jiu-jitsu, responded, "That's like asking someone if they remember their first meal." Listen as Hollis talks about his family history, the fighting spirit of his mother, his relationship with his legendary cousin Renzo, and his desire to become a fighter and defend the honor of jiu-jitsu. Here's Roll Radio with the always positive and inspiring Rolles Gracie.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
I'm recording now.
And my little Fuji spot was
Forget it. We
good.
got to do this again.
All right, we're doing it again.
Sorry, that's my
you-
my fault.
We had
All
such a
right.
nice little,
A
yeah.
good actor too, I can pretend he didn't start.
That's it. No,
So,
Gary will throw me under the bus. You'll see.
Yeah.
That's good. That's what makes it genuine. People
That's
like this
it.
stuff.
And we are live again.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm recording this time.
All right.
I'm recording this time.
All right. Let's get to it. Real quick, I just want to remind everybody to go to therollradio.com/belt. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see Thomas and I got these awesome Fuji t-shirts they sent us. And the reason you want to go there is to take the survey. Do you wash your belt? Super easy. Once you take the survey, you are entered to win a free gi. We're giving those away monthly. So thank you very much to Fuji for hooking us up with that. And let's get to the guest.
Yeah, before we get there, actually, an important part, we'll be announcing the winners at the end of the shows. So make sure you listen to the episodes. End of each month, we'll have one winner who's going to get the free gear from Fuji. So make sure you tune in. Don't take it for granted. Who doesn't want a free gi? Anyhow, let's get to the show this time. How are you?
I'm good, man. Now I know that I jumped the gun before. That I answered
The question, yeah.
question. But now I know I'm supposed to save it for later. So I'm glad somebody screwed up in a way and not me.
Well,
It wasn't me either.
Okay.
I'll
let's keep it quiet.
I'll take a hit for this one. Listen, Hollis, we've known each other for a few years now. I had the privilege being at your academy. You've done seminar in my academy. How are things going your end? I know your positive attitude on life is really radiating and it's very visible, but it's challenging time. So how are you doing?
It's good, man. Things are good. All things considered, definitely good. As you said it, I'm not a complainer. I'm not gonna be here and complain. I think people got sick and tired of what's going on. Some more than others. But I just keep pushing through, right? I think life threw us some adversity, right? We can either complain about it or we can adapt and move forward.
Yeah,
And
it's almost like jiu-jitsu, right? I mean,
for sure,
you
like
mentioned it
jiu-jitsu,
before we were recording. It's like a jiu-jitsu. If somebody's passing your guard, somebody's on top of you, you have to adapt. You have to find these solutions, right? Troubleshoot.
if you never, even if you never seen it before, right? Like you go to class, you learn things, and you're like, whoa! Suddenly, like you're rolling, going live, you're sparring, you're like, whoa, what the heck is going on here? Never seen this before, man. Adapt, use your basic concepts, use things that try to find things that are similar to the position, to the situation, and push forward. If you don't know anything similar, you know what? Try something totally different and see if it works.
Is that how your mindset always been, to troubleshoot and kind of adapt, or this is something that you have developed over the years? Being a black belt, being an instructor, and as you teach and you explore with your students.
Man, I think this is something that I think I got exposed, and I like to say it to everybody. I think like overall Jiu-Jitsu made me a better troubleshooter, right? I feel that like I always doesn't matter where I am, what I'm doing, like I feel that I if I have a problem, first I try to identify the problem, why it's happening, what's going on, and then I'll troubleshoot it, right? Instead of trying to impulsively try to act on it. Yeah, but I feel that I was lucky to. I think that I was exposed to this type of approach by my uncle Helium, right? He is. I think that's his style of jiu-jitsu. Was very common that when we saw fight scenarios, things happen in a fight, in a jiu-jitsu situation. Oh, this guy does this really well. Like let's see how we can do to avoid, to stop that. So it's almost like we use a lot of almost like a laboratory, right? To turn, like especially in the end of training sessions, like troubleshooting time, So that's what I got used to it, right? I felt that okay, let me find the solution, and I to the problem. So I feel that also that combined with a basic and a solid understanding of foundations, you can go very far.
Yeah, you mentioned something interesting. I mean, obviously you're part of Gracie family, and you've been exposed to the art very early on in that, if you will, pure form right from the source, right? So how did that look in your childhood? Like how as you were growing up before you came to US, how was that presented to you? And did you really know what you were part of?
Man, I honestly I had no idea how big it was. I mean, maybe when I was a child, it wasn't that big yet in a way,
Hmm.
right? Because it was like I think right now, in most of the U.S. and for sure in Brazil, like in you say the word jiu-jitsu, people know what it is. You know what I mean? Maybe even people don't know, don't even saw like a jiu-jitsu, took a jiu-jitsu class or saw a jiu-jitsu specific fight, but they know, because of the popularity of MMA and all like that, and of course jiu-jitsu is like a national, it's pretty much a national sport in Brazil. But I remember growing up, when I was growing up, maybe ages of 8, 9, 10, 12 years old, uh when I used to say that I did jiu-jitsu, people, jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu, what's, people couldn't even say, like, what's that? You know what I mean? Oh, it's like judo, it's like karate. Judo was a lot more famous in Brazil than, you know, uh, I think here was more like, people see you like wearing a gi, people
Hmm.
talk about karate. I think in Brazil it was more like judo. Judo was more of a more popular sport
Yeah,
and
and
more popular
interesting.
martial art.
Interesting you mentioned this, because recently we talked to Robert Drysdale, and he has his book and the documentary about history, and he talks about that jiu-jitsu wasn't as popular. People didn't know what it really is. How did you encounter? So, like, what was your first recollection of jiu-jitsu?
Man, I don't know. I honestly, like, if it's almost like, when did you first remember? When was it like you remember your first meal? You know, so I really don't, like, when the first time like, it's. I think it was like engraved, already. And when I was born, I think I have recollections of running around in my father's academy, being around, being exposed. Of course, my father passed when I was, almost 4. You know, so I probably wasn't like really training, taking like real classes there, but you know, I was exposed to the environment. You know, I was probably like doing stuff with him at home, you know, the same way I do with my kids. Uh, you know, so that's like, you know, it's really hard for me to try to remember like exact date, you know, that I first put a gi on, that I went to a class. I can't, you know,
So
just
it
like,
was just part of your life. It's just
yeah,
it was just there.
it was there. Exactly. It was there, you know, the whole thing, the whole lifestyle, you know, was
Have,
just there.
have you ever thought, this might be a very weird question, but have you ever thought about your life without jiu-jitsu?
Man, they'll be, yeah, I don't know. You know, they'll be crazy. You know, I don't know. You know, like it's definitely not because um, I would probably one of those guys that would have gotten maybe late in the game because you know, even throughout my only maybe when I was becoming more of a teen, jiu-jitsu started to get more popular in Rio, in Brazil, right? So maybe then I would have probably like, you know, joined, you know, a jiu-jitsu school. I definitely know that would definitely interest me, you know, at some point, right? But I know it wasn't very popular. There was no internet back then,
Hmm.
right? So it's one of those things like, you know, how do you find out about stuff, right? So I would have to go depending on like maybe my mother to, you know, so it's but I remember like, you know, when I was a kid, my mother was like, okay, when you turn 14 or something, I'm gonna enroll in boxing, you know. So it was my mother was always, you know, maybe I don't know if probably like because influence of my father. My mother's a fighter, you know, she's a fighter. She doesn't really fight the martial arts, but has a the heart of
The
a
heart.
fighter, you know. So and she knows what she was always looking to enroll my brothers and I and get us ready for the world, you know, with no like, you know, the real world, not like, you know, the Wonderland world.
Was the goal at that point when you were in your teen years and your mom, you talking about your mom having a very strong will and being a fighter, was there at that point even a plan of you teaching jujitsu or this being your career, or this was just part of your family dynamic? It was more of a hobby or kind of lifestyle way. Like explain this to us, because even for me, like I know you and I know who you are, but like we don't know what this looked like, and I think a lot of people would be curious what Gracie family looked like
Mhm.
way back in the day.
Yeah, so I can't remember anybody in my family or someone in my family that came to me, man, look, you're gonna have to be a champion. You're gonna have to get a black belt. You, you're gonna have to teach. I don't remember that,
Hmm.
right? I don't remember that.
Because I often think with you and your family that from an outsider's point of view, that it's expected of you, right?
Yeah.
And come to find out that maybe it's not. So did it just happen organically?
Yeah, definitely happened again. Like, you know, it's not like it wasn't like a Spartan style, right? Either you take this path or you take the other path, it leaves you to like the cliff,
Yeah,
you know.
they didn't leave you out in the woods.
No, they didn't leave me, you know. So it's no, so it's, you know, like my mother, you know, as I was starting to be I'm more involved. I was always super involved, but as I starting to show signs that, you know, that I was gonna follow this path, you know, my mother was like, okay, you're gonna be a black belt, but you also have to have a college degree. You know, you cannot, like, my mother was always really tough on my brothers and I when it comes to school. Like, man, the day, you know, when every time I got my report card, I'll be like, oh man, I'm dreading to go home because I'm gonna get it.
Yeah.
Ah,
What
you know.
what was the consequence? What was the
Oh,
dynamic? Like
oh.
you bring the report card back home and the results are not as your mom wished. What happened?
Man, it's funny because Gregor is he's a lot younger than Igor and I, right? Gregor's
Yeah.
like 7 years younger than Igor and I. Um, and Igor and I we were like about a year and a half apart. So we used to kind of compare our report cards, and we come up and say, okay, maybe yours look better, so you show her yours first. So it kind of like, you know what I mean? So we kind of
Soften the
have like
blow.
with something to blow, you know, like we're gonna get blows for sure. But you know, and the funny thing is, we figured out that the best time to show her our report card was after jiu-jitsu, you know, because we came home with we want to take our gis off, you know. We would keep our gis on, you know, bring the report card, maybe throw a hoodie on top of it, you know, and yeah, mom, my report card, you know. But she was really strict when it comes to school, you know. Like I said, mom, can I skip school tomorrow? She goes, you already graduated? You already like you have straight A's? You know, like you're. I'm like,
Why do you
okay.
think that was so important to her?
Because she's an intelligent woman, right? I mean, she always told us that, you know, like she said, if she had she doesn't have a college degree, right? My mother, like I said, my mother is a fighter. My mother, um, you know, can you imagine, like, you know, I'm not gonna say her age, but you know, she like my father died. She has you know, a not even 4 year old, and then like, you know, another 2.5 year old, you know, two kids. You know, she didn't without a college degree or anything, and man, that's it. My father didn't leave a pension. My father didn't leave you know, like a big bank account. You know, it was like, man, he was trying himself. You know, like, you know, he was starting jiu-jitsu. You know, I mean, early days of jiu-jitsu in Rio. You know, it's not that he's you know, now it's very common to see, you know, jiu-jitsu academies with like 200, 300, 400, 500,000 students. You know, over 1,000 like Renzo's here in New York. But back then, man, it was like, you know, like you know, people were teaching jiu-jitsu to make ends meet. You
Was it
know,
hard?
so
Was it hard?
uh,
Like when you were a child? I mean, without your dad and your mom essentially
man,
doing this whole thing, and
no, believe it or not, it wasn't. You know, like that's why like I'm super proud of my mother. You know, we had everything to have like a tough, poor childhood, and we didn't. You know, my mother always made sure that you provide, you know, put us on the best direction and provide us the best stuff for us. You know, so like I cannot complain. You know, like, you know, sometimes like you know, I feel like, wow, maybe like, you know, yeah. So she was like, so I think that's to her was like super important for me to have a college degree, because she always said like, you know, if I had a college degree, it would make a difference in my life too. You know, maybe things would be a little uh, uh, easier or less hard for her. You know.
was she right? Was she correct?
Uh, I don't know,
Did the
because
education?
I didn't get my college degree. You know, I disappointed her on that matter. You know, like my college degree came from a different college. Uh, I tie I have my degree tied around my waist. You know.
So, and so, at which point in your life you have this pivot point where you say, "Well, I'm gonna do this for a living. I'm gonna teach. I'm gonna follow the I guess the destination of jujitsu, and
Yes.
I'm going to do this." This is before or after you moved to US? Is it like
No, that was before. I think it was when I was around 15, 16. You know, like
really? So at 15, you say, "I'm gonna teach jujitsu." Forget about
I
all the other stuff. I'm gonna this is gonna be my career.
yeah, I knew I was gonna be like, you know, I was gonna be like, you know, fighter's last teacher, you know, because at that time at 15 years old, nobody was making money with fighting, you know.
Right.
So, you know, I wanted to fight because I wanted to fight, you know, because I wanted to be a tough guy. I wanted to be, you know, I wanted to, you know, not be a tough guy, you know, because I was a tough regardless of that. With regards of jiu-jitsu, I wanted to be like, you know, like skilled, right,
Mhm.
in the area. You know, and I remember like my high school friends, you know, like they were saying like, "How this man? You want to show you want to be you know, you want to be a fighter, man? Like you're more intelligent than that. You know, fighting's not gonna take you anywhere. You know, it's just like, man, you can go to college, you can do like, say, man, I'm gonna be a fighter. That's what I want.
Why? Why was that so appealing to you?
Because maybe not just because the act of fighting and teaching,
Hmm.
but because the examples that I had in my family, right? You know, like to me, it was just like, you know, about you know, it's just more like than you know, being kicking butt on the mat. or on the ring or whatever. It's like the examples that I had. Starting from my grandfather. The way people talked about my father and my uncles. Like to me it was like, that was it. So and not only, and it's funny because sometimes you see people preaching one thing, and when you see like, wait, they're doing something different than they were preaching.
Mm.
And in my family, it was like, man, they were living by the sword and dying by the sword. So it was like, yeah, so like, this is. I had examples of people, like, and that's why I mentioned this from time and time again that like, every boy, every at the time, like when the teenage years, early years, they're at some point they're like get very into superheroes, right? Comics, at that time, and didn't have like real like Marvel or movies. We had like Superman. Like the only superhero movie I remember at the time was like Superman. But I remember like all my friends and a lot of people like they're like really into Marvel and superhero stuff. Man, I never got into that. Never. Because to me, like the superheroes were like, I was living among superheroes. To me, yes.
Yeah. So along those lines, then, Thomas brought up Robert Drysdale and his book and everything. At what point, or did you ever realize like the impact that your family was having, not only in Brazil, but then here in the United States and now all over the world?
Yeah. Man, I think later on, right? Because up until teenage years, jiu-jitsu wasn't very popular in Brazil. It was gaining popularity, right?
Mhm.
It was like gaining popularity as like very quick, right? But I think after of course, and I think if the landmark would be like the UFC, the first UFC, right?
Right.
Royce. I think that would be like, even though like everybody in the family were like very confident about it, we were like, wow, this is huge. We knew like how big was that,
Mhm.
you know.
Did you think though that it was going to make the change in that it has? Like, I mean, it's changed not only martial arts, but I think culture all over.
I don't know if I was thinking about that. Okay, now things are gonna change. Things are gonna get better. Things are gonna improve. I don't think. I guess I was just like surfing the wave too. You know what I mean? I was just like, living the
Mhm.
moment, enjoying. I was like, never like, okay, you will have to do this. Uh, Again, I wasn't never doing jujitsu just for to make it big in a way. I was doing it because of the lifestyle, right?
Mhm.
Well, for the benefits, and I think like the growth was just a consequence of it, right? If something good, things are gonna, people are gonna start finding out about it. I think my grandfather had more of this vision. It's like, okay, let's make sure, how he's gonna make, jiu-jitsu popular, how he's gonna be known about this martial art.
Mhm.
So some people say that's why he had like 21 kids. That's why he went from town to town challenging people, putting like ads on newspapers, about it, and try to prove his method. And yeah, but I was just kind of like, okay, let me just keep continuing, keep
Mhm.
moving forward. I was.
Do you remember when the UFC was getting ready to be launched, or on the very beginning? I think like the UFC was the very pivotal point for a lot of us. Like I remember watching
Yeah.
it, first three or first five. And do you remember how that was and where you were and what the dynamic was? Like what was the train of thought or the conversation within the family about all of this?
Man, honestly, no. I mean, I was young, right? 93, I
Right.
was, what,
15-ish.
15, yeah,
Yeah.
15 years old, so like it was, I wasn't like, like I wasn't part of the council, you know what I
Right.
mean? I was just a team, but so I remember like, that's like, it happened. The UFC happened, Royce beat three guys in a row, in the same night. Um, and I remember it happened, so I remember talking to some of my
How did you
friends.
how did you find out? So first of all, are you in the US at that point? You're not, right?
No, no, I wasn't. I
You're
wasn't.
in
I was in
Brazil,
Rio.
right?
I was in Rio still.
How do you find
Yes,
out? Because TV is not as accessible back then, is it? So did you watch it?
man. No, I watch after the fact, right?
Okay.
Uh, I remember Hoyler. He
Mhm.
brought a VHS and he did a showing on his academy,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Okay.
And his academy was like 10, 15 minutes where I used to live. So I went there to watch. Okay, so he did a couple showings there, right? For his students and for people who wanted to watch. So that's how I watched. But I remember that I found out on the day off, right? I can't remember if they put a note on the newspaper, if they put somebody, you know, somebody like like word of mouth,
Hmm.
But I remember talking to my friends. Wow, this was awesome. He, Royce did it, great. Now he's set, he's set for life now. So I remember that. I remember like, wow, now he's set. This is huge what he achieved, you know. Uh, and yeah, that's kind of like those are my recollections of the first one.
Is your thought at that point, I want to follow those footsteps? This is what I want to do. I want to do this one day. I want to fight just like he did.
Yeah, I mean, I always knew that, at some point I would have to put myself to defend the honor of jiu-jitsu, right? At some point, because that was, I saw it happen. You saw, you know, a bunch of guys fighting, no holds barred, vale tudo at the time,
Mhm.
but it was me. It wasn't for the money. It was just like, okay, I think jiu-jitsu, I think my art can beat jiu-jitsu. I think our guys can beat your guys. So let's fight and see, which at not say which martial arts, which style it will reign supreme, in a way. So I always knew that I was gonna, man, I'll put myself, if there's the occasion, I'll be the one, hey, I'm ready to defend the art. I'm ready to
How
defend.
frequent was that when you were in Brazil? Like when you going after
No,
those teenagers? Is it a common occurrence or?
I mean, officially, an event. uh, no, I mean, officially, you didn't have events all the time. No, because I think it was actually not as, I don't know how easy it was to organize these type of events. Uh, but I mean, I used to hear about stories all the time. Oh, the Luta Livre guy invaded this academy, and they fought. Like we heard, like when the Luta Livre guys went to Gracie Impact. When Rickson fought the, Hugo at the beach. Sometimes in during a nightlife. Like people bumped each other. They didn't like it and had their rivalry. It will happen all the time. It could happen at any given moment. Anywhere, any given moment. So I knew that, I gotta be, I'm ready. I gotta be ready. I mean, not ready, I gotta be ready, to step up to the plate if my time comes.
Do you feel that
Or
time?
when my time comes.
When it
So,
comes.
so so that's
When it comes.
right.
Because it was just a matter of when, not if.
So when does the time come? When is that? When is the time when you're put on that spot when you're thinking you have to step up and defend the honor of jiu-jitsu?
I mean, I didn't really have to defend the honor of jiu-jitsu in a way. When I start fighting, professionally,
Hmm.
things were a little more, more evolved. You have event, UFC was bigger.
Hmm.
I fought in the IFL. They had Pride.
Hmm.
Had Dream, not Dream, Rings. In
Rings. Yep.
Japan.
Yep.
So they have all these like huge, a lot of events going on at the time. You know, and I wanted to, and I think when Renzo, Ryan, Daniel, Rodrigo, all these guys start to fight in Pride. I was like, man, I gotta fight in Pride. I've been to a couple of Prides.
But that
I
was
think
it. I mean, like that was
that was like,
that was
man.
it. Like even here in US, everybody
I was like,
wished the
man.
pride was here. Like it was the real thing.
I was like, man, I gotta do this. I was a purple belt. I think when Pride's purple, maybe brown. When Pride, I think it was purple. Uh, but when Pride, started, they had the events. I was like, man, I gotta do this. I gotta do this, this is like, and at the time, Pride was paying big money. It's like, man, last my not only I will do that for free, but there's a good chance I can make good money too, but don't let them know that, and I wanted to do it, I wanted to fight Pride, but I end up not fighting Pride, UFC bought Pride, and to me, like was one of the saddest days on my professional life, on my fighting life, let's say, when UFC bought Pride, because I knew they were going to extend Pride and I wasn't going to have a chance to fight there, So, but I ended up fighting a lot. I fought events in Japan, had an amazing time, and yeah.
So at which point you come to US?
I came to the US 2000 and end of 2003.
So
You
you
know,
so
I
you
think a
so
little
you're in your
before. I think it was a
20s, 25, 23, 25, somewhere in there, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So what's the purpose behind you coming to US? Like, is that a plan thing, or you just coming because it's US and the jiu-jitsu is growing, or you want
No,
to?
it was. I mean, so I was I was in Rio at the time. I was recently because I so let me go back a little bit. And, in order to do that, I have to go back. At when I was 21, 2021. I got married. I have a daughter. I had a daughter. Not me. My ex-wife had a daughter. But and we decided to move to a town, to a city in the middle part of Brazil, right? Almost like a Midwest type of place comparison, because Brazil is huge, like as it's like a continental country, like US.
Mhm.
So it's like in the very the township, like if you shoot a bullseye in the middle of South America, you're gonna hit the town that I was there. So so we moved there, to open because their family uh, lived there at the time. They're settled there. They had like business there. They're doing well there. So they said, you know what, come there. We're gonna put an academy. And we're gonna help facilitate everything for you to teach, to have your academy. And I was like, yeah, but I want to fight though. I cannot go there. I want to fight. I want to fight. I need to fight. I was a brown belt. I was still peaking. I wanna keep. If I go there, it's gonna like retirement means retirement, right? So they go, no, we'll make it happen. We bring professionals for you to train. We can, we we make it happen. So we make it happen. So I moved there. Open an academy, this and that, but with all the things that I had there, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough because I was the best wrestler in town. I was the best jiu-jitsu in town. I was the best boxer in town. You know what I mean? I was the best physical trainer in town.
So no
You know?
challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that like, yeah, I could have like, it could be, in the way I thought at the time was like, okay, I could find, not that I did. It's not that I was like, I didn't have like worthy people for me to train. Of course, I had like great talent there, right? Uh, you know, a guy Rafael Feijão, he came from there. He fought Strike Force. That's where he comes from. But when he started to peak, he started spending more time with the Nogueira brothers and Anderson in Rio, right? So, they have good talent there. I had like great people there, great students, but I felt that you know if I'm here and everybody else kind of here, we're gonna tend to level here and then maybe kind of like slowly. So I need to be in a place where like I'm here, I need to find people that are here. So I gotta kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to
So
keep climbing.
Always surround yourself with people who are better than you, right?
yeah, so I wanted to get people that are better than me. So um, I decided to spend time between Rio and Cuiabá. That was the name of the city. And but that at some point wasn't enough, right? I was going back and forth. It wasn't really enough. I told my ex-wife at the time, let's move, let's go somewhere. She didn't want it. I said, you know what, I can't, you know, I can't wrap up my career now, who I am, you know, as a person. So I'm going. So I ended up getting a divorce, and then I moved back full time to Rio. And then when I was in Rio, an opportunity came for me to move to the U.S. You know, so like I remember my brother Igor, uh, he came to New York, and then my cousin Caesar, needed help there. He wanted to bring me to spend time with him. So I went to California. You know, at the time, you know, like Nate Diaz was a blue belt, Nick was purple, maybe brown. You know, and there was a black belt at the time already. You know, so uh, yeah, so I went there. You know, Jake Shields was a tough purple belt at the time. You know,
I mean, you're dropping some big names. I mean,
yeah,
all
you know.
these guys are.
Nate was like 15 years old, man.
Oh, I know.
I remember hanging out with Nate. You know, he was like, always a cool kid, man. You know, Nate was, you know, like, and it's, you know, all these guys are, you know, really cool guys. You know, like, you know, I know people, they might rub people the wrong way, but you know, I think they're really cool. They always, you know, I know them. You know, I know them not just from watching TV or something. I know them.
Is that change difficult for you? So you leaving everything behind, you coming to US, different culture. Do you even know English at that point? I mean,
I knew English, you know, not as good as I know now, but you know, that's another thing that my mother always made sure, like, she enrolled us in English classes in Rio, in Brazil. So you know, I kind of knew I was studying English, like, you know, 2 or 3 times a week for 7, 10 years. And then I remember when I was 15, 16, I came to spend some time with my cousin Caesar during the summer. I spent like a couple months, 2, 3 months, and then my English, like, you know, I started to speak because everything was like in here, you know, because I was going to class in Brazil, but I didn't get to practice, right? It's just almost like you watch moves or jiu-jitsu moves. Okay, I remember practice, you know, you don't you don't really how you call you don't really, like, you know,
you don't practice.
No, right? You don't practice. You don't execute, right? You don't have, like, you know. It's like you don't have, you know. And when I start practicing the English,
hey, your mic is acting up. See if you can plug, if it's plugged in. It's like keep switching back and forth. Oh, now you're back on.
I'm back on.
You're back on now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, so you know, so like, and then I start, you know, I spend some time here, start to speak, you know, but now it's been like, I don't know how many years that I've been here, so my English is very fluent. So I went to Caesars, you know, spend time there.
Is it hard to make that switch? I mean, the culture is so much different here in Brazil. Even though you hang out with Caesar and other guys who are native, you know them from back in the day, maybe, you know, is that change difficult for you?
Man, I think I got used to change. Of course, you know, it's difficult, you know, to leave. You know, at the time, my daughter at the time, you know, to leave her was, you know, was really tough. You know, yeah, it was definitely hard. You know, but I've been moving so much. You know, at the time, like, I remember when I was 16, I moved to the south of Brazil to live with my uncle Helion. And then I moved to the US for 1 year, you know, and then I moved back to Rio, you know, then I moved to Cuiabá, and then, you know, I moved back to Rio, then I moved to the US. So I guess I was kind of like used to
moving,
you know, and like I said, you know, like the way we started in the beginning of this podcast, I always look for the bright side of things. You know, I always look as moving as, you know, a way to improve, you know, not like, you know, I was, you know.
Yeah, so you talked about adapting too, right?
Yeah, and adapt. You know, I needed to. Okay, I mean, this is going to be good. This is going to be important. You know, I'm going to miss some things, right? But what's good here? You know, what can I? You know, this is going to make me a better person. This is going to make me a better, you know, improve on my career. And yeah, and I took it.
So what makes you move to the East Coast? Why New York? Why East Coast?
Yeah, so it was almost like, I remember Daniel was getting ready to fight in Pride. and I was there with Caesar, and then I was getting ready to fight in Pride, and my brother Igor was here. He moved. He was helping Renzo, teaching Renzo, helping Renzo. And my little brother was actually spending vacation here, so they go, "Oh, let's come, come here. Daniel, Daniel could use your help, to train for his fight. You big guy, he's gonna fight in heavyweight. So come here. Maybe you guys maybe go to Japan as well." So I came to the East Coast to spend maybe a few weeks. But basically, when I got here, the guys didn't let me go back. Because, man, you gotta stay here. Everybody's fighting Pride. They're fighting here. High-end was here. High-end was here at the time too. So basically, everybody here. It's almost like Renzo telling me to stay, High-end telling me to stay, which I couldn't say no. I wouldn't dare to say no. Just kidding. All the kidding aside.
Well, and probably the opportunity that you saw ahead.
Yeah,
that, it was probably hard to turn down, right? I mean, as these guys are getting for fights and as they are building this life, you probably see the similar.
Yeah, and I saw things are happening here.
Right.
There, of course, everybody was good, great team, great talent, but I wanted to fight in Pride, man. I wanted to fight in Pride, and I thought that, man, New York's gonna be the shortcut for me to not the shortcut, but it's gonna be the right path. Right? If I want to fight in Pride, this is the right path.
Walk us through some of these training sessions that you've witnessed. You help these guys get ready for Pride and other fights, wherever they were. But I think the training methods back in the day were so much different than they are today. And a lot of people don't even know what that looked like. What was it typically when you walk into that room and these guys are about to get ready for the best of the best of the best fights in Pride or even in UFC? What did that feel like? What did that look like?
Man, it felt good to be in the same room. It felt good to be like iron sharpening iron. It was definitely like a little bit different. I think things a little bit more. Now they're more methodical. Let's say. I think we have like at the time we didn't really have like now you see like a bunch of MMA specific camps in training centers, right? At that time, we still had to let's go find a boxing or kickbox or a striking coach. Let's go find a physical trainer, and let's go find a place to go do wrestling. So we almost like you had to like break out the sessions that way. So I remember I was going with the guys to the New York Athletic Club for wrestling. Mario, he was coming to teach wrestling at the Renzo's as well. With Renzo at the time, Renzo's facility changed so much, but at the time, he had a ring there. So we was sparring in the ring. Yeah, man, it was like amazing.
Are you guys going friendly or is it like hardcore? I mean, I want some dirt here. What was going on over there?
Oh, you go as hard as it can be, right? In like meaning like doesn't mean like not as hard as it can be in a way that like like as fucking hard as it can be before you kill each other. No, hard as you can. You're gonna as hard as you can push yourself, right? Safely, in a way that like But yeah, but everything's super friendly for sure. Maybe the spy not as friendly, but the moment that you glove off, it's like no, it's just like another training session, the same as somebody taps you or not, like it's part of the game.
Yeah. So big of your dreams, right? One of the big dreams that you had throughout your entire life is to fight in Pride, which doesn't happen, but you have opportunity to fight in other organizations. Talk a little bit about that very first fight that you had. What did it feel like? What is that feeling? You waiting for your fights? What is that feeling? You stepping into the fight, into the venue?
Yes, it was, man.
I mean, there has to be an anxiety behind all of that. You waited your entire life for this moment.
But man, you know what? It's almost like I say that I usually say that it's like when if you have you remember like when we were like in school days, right? Or some people went to college. I went to college for a little bit, but like, and if you have an exam, right? no matter how hard the exam is, but like if you study your butt off, and you're going through the flashcards, like nothing, like, man, the exam is gonna be a piece of, just like, man, you're so confident, like there's no way I'm gonna flunk this, right? It's like, no way I'm not gonna get a excellent grade on this, I'm fine. And to me, it was, that's the feeling that I had going into my first fight. I was like, man, well, I got this. I was so trained. I was, training with like really good guys. I was, man, like my team was unbelievable. I was, and I was like, man, this, like, I got this. I got this. I didn't overthink. And if you see like my opponent at the time, I mean, I don't know if I would let like one of my students or somebody fight somebody like that, but my own paper, my opponent was like a 4-0 wrestler. And I was like, fuck, I got this, like, I don't care, I got this, it's just like, man, and I remember I was so and maybe I didn't know better, it's one of those things that, like, you didn't do it, you never done it, you're training, but like, yeah, he's like, I don't know better. And I remember, maybe like a couple nights before the fight or a night before the fight, or I think we're sitting down and talking like this. I fought for, it wasn't the IFL event on the night, the championship night, where the Pitbulls were fighting Pat Miletич's team. I wasn't on the team. I fought a super fight, but I was talking to Fabio Leopoldo. He was the 185er at the team. He was like my roommate. Like. And I was talking, man, I'm ready. I feel good. I feel confident. The one thing that makes me nervous is that I'm going to get weak legs, warming up, going in. That's one thing I don't want to happen, man. If that happens, I don't know. And Fabio goes to me, man, come on. Don't worry, bro. Don't even think about that. Don't worry about this because this is going to happen for sure.
So much for encouragement.
So might something else, this is gonna happen. I was like, motherfucker.
So what is it like first time when you're stepping in? The event is taking place, your music is playing, you're walking out. What is going through your head?
And let's just get it done. Let's get it over with. But not in a bad way. You're like, oh, it's just like, let's go. I'm ready.
You're ready.
And I remember like I think my fight was the second fight of the night, and my teammate Jamal is actually, Jamal Patterson, like a really great, he was like my training partner for a long time. I consider that I have a great guillotine defense because of him, because Jamal has amazing guillotine. He's like, I think one of the guys aside from Renzo that I train with that has the best guillotine. So his guillotine is amazing. So I think I have good, really good guillotine defense because I was spending hours on the mat training with him. So he went in, and I think he finished his fight quick, man. He finished it. I mean, he finished his fight. I think took the guy down, passed the guard, landed in side mount, and finished. Maybe like 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Was the first round for sure. I won't remember the exact time now. And I was like, this freaking guy, man, he raised the bar. So how funny I was, that when you're confident, I was like, man, this guy just raised the bar, So it wasn't like, oh, I got to fight. I just got to win no matter what. It wasn't like, oh, man. No, so like, man, this guy, he raised the bar. So I went in there and finished the fight in 1 minute and 50 seconds. I raised the bar a little bit more.
So what was the feeling like when you achieve all this?
It was amazing, man. It was an amazing feeling.
Who's in your corner?
My corner was Helion, Renzo, our doctor friend Jose Alfredo, he was there. My brothers were around. I mean, officially on the corner, I think I had Helion, Renzo, and the doctor, the Pitbull's doctor at the time, Jose Alfredo. He was the guy. Like, if you see any of Renzo's MMA fights, you're gonna see him there on the corner.
What is it like, having Renzo in your corner? I mean, we are talking about one of the biggest names in jiu-jitsu history, period. I mean, a person who individually impacted millions around the world and daily is impacting thousands, in New York. What does it feel like to have him and being so close with him?
Man, it's Renzo's probably the most optimistic guy in the planet. I don't think there's like a more optimistic guy than him.
It
It's like,
feels like when he walks in the room, everybody smiles. Like he
yeah,
he just lights things up.
to him, like everything is gonna work out in the end, even if the end means death. But he doesn't care about it. So he's like, okay, don't worry, man. Everything's gonna work out, everything, to him is like, so yeah, so that gives you a lot of confidence too, right?
Hmm.
Like, a guy like that, he goes like, don't worry, you got this, this guy doesn't stand a chance, he's this and that and blah blah blah. So it's amazing to have him around,
So
it's
so he's building you up rather than you being nervous about this
oh
disappointing
yeah,
him. Yeah.
yeah. But he gets nervous too, but sometimes he gets nervous, but he's this guy's better for us, I mean, let me rephrase that. It isn't that he gets nervous. He he worries that he wants us to succeed, right? He wants, and every time, that you want to succeed, somebody should succeed. You're gonna be like, okay. So in that matter, not that he's nervous. No, doesn't get nervous about anything.
I mean, there's so many
He worries about us.
there's so many people who would trade with you to be in your spot, and you're like, ultimately, one of the luckiest guys ever to not only have the opportunity to train with, but then you have him in the corner and have that wisdom. I mean, like, that's poking right into the source of this positive and driven attitude and being true martial artist. That's pretty amazing, if you ask me.
Oh, it's man, it's very hard to find even words to describe this, right? So it's like he's such a great example, and my relationship with Renzo, of course, goes way back, right? When I was a
Hmm.
yellow belt, even before he moved to the U.S. and I moved here, uh, I was training with him, like when I was a yellow belt. Um, he used to give me a ride home from training, you know. So I used to go. I'll make myself because the place I used to train was far from my house, my apartment where I used to live, right? And and I used to go there, and after training at night, so Renzo used to go and train. So and he used to live like past my apartment building. It's like he used to live like 10 minutes. Coming from the gym, 10 minutes or more beyond my apartment. So he used to drop us, and then me and my brothers and I, and then used to he would go home. So my relationship with him goes way back.
If you had to pinpoint one thing that you learned from Henzo, like one thing, just one, the best thing that he ever taught you, the best thing he ever told you, can you recall any of that?
Man, it's almost like what he likes to say. What, like, you don't retreat, not even to get, like, to wind up to get an impulse to jump forward. You know what I mean? You don't. That's like what he's saying. Like, pushing forward all the time.
All the
Like, no
time.
matter what, push forward all the time in everything. Push forward. Don't move forward, move forward, 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 forward. Don't look. Oh yeah. What are you gonna do? You gonna look back, cry over the spilled milk? Yeah, move forward. Move forward. Exactly.
So now you have
Nice.
you have the opportunity to do exactly same with your students. You have your
Yes.
own academy, you have a great organization. Everything's kind of been on hold for past year, but you have the opportunity to kind of pass the baton, pass the history and some of the knowledge that you've gained over the time, some of these great individuals to your students. What are some of the big things that you talk about in your academy to your students as part of life lessons, part of this jiu-jitsu lifestyle that you have experienced firsthand?
Yeah, man. I try to, to teach and, and be the whole model. I try to lead by example, the same way I learn. I think that's super important. And it's like, I try not to, I don't tell them like do this and I do all the opposite, literally, it's just like, I think, you know, uh, bosses will tell you what to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And leaders, will show you what to do and do it with you, right? So I feel that, and that's, I feel how I am with my students.
Well, often it's being said that what separates a manager and a true leader is the fact that leader will actually get his hands dirty and will lead by example, will do what he's asking others to do. And I think, you've shown that over time so many times.
Yeah, for sure, man. There's no other way, man. There's no other way. Do this. Like somebody tells me, like, do this. Like, why? Okay, I do this, but I see you doing something different. Why would I do that? You know.
Do you miss fighting?
I miss fighting. I don't know if I miss the intensity of getting ready for a fight.
You think that's the hardest part?
On that level, man, my body's so broken. It's so broken.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, I have neck issues. I have like if I lift weights like a little bit heavier than I start to feel my joints, man. Like it's like on my last 2 or 3 MMA fights, and last 2 or 3 camps, man. It was almost like waking up every day with a different little injury, like to the point of like going to sleep like with ice bags, like in my elbows, and like putting pillows everywhere, so like I couldn't find like a good so it's.
Do you think it was worth it, even though these aches and pains and injuries?
Heck yeah.
Would you?
Heck yeah, I'll do it all over again.
Do you ever dream about doing it again, despite that?
I'll do it again because I will do it better. I'll do it better.
I got a question.
But we don't have a redo.
I got a question. We've had a few fighters on, and they've all been retired. I think we don't have anybody. Well, we've had a couple that are still active. But how do you challenge yourself now? Like, you were gearing up all those years to be a fighter, all those challenges that come with it. How do you challenge yourself now that you're retired from it?
Man, I still roll with my students. Of course, I got respect. My limitations, right? I like to believe that I'm Superman, but things, if I gotta know when to stop. Maybe I cannot go like in a Renzo's competition training every day, or if I go, I don't know if I'm gonna last all rounds, but otherwise I'll pay the price, the next 2-3 weeks. Yeah, but it's just a matter of mindset, like I feel that before, when I was a fighter, when I was more actively fighting, I was a little bit more selfish, right? Focusing on me a little bit more, right? While now it's a different stage. I can focus more on my students, and I can focus more on other areas.
I feel like a lot of instructors, maybe not a lot, but some instructors don't see that point of view, where there's time where you focus on yourself, but then there's the time when you have to kind of step back from that perspective and really focus on development of your students, because essentially they are the next generation that will follow, whatever that means. And what's your philosophy on this? Why is it hard to step back when you have so much passion for fighting and for jiu-jitsu?
No, because I'll fight through them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If I'll have similar, if not more, reward than if I see people that I like, people that I love succeed in whatever area, right? I definitely get like, I would get more nervous when I was seeing my brothers fight than when I was, like, man, it's like, man, I'll get nervous, like, man, I want these guys to win no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of
And
like
when they would win, I'll be more happy and more excited than when I would have won.
Yeah, it's kind of like having kids. I think once you get to a certain age and you have kids, you shift your focus from me onto them, and then when you see them grow and develop, it's probably more rewarding than anything you did.
Yeah, it's just
for
like
yourself.
Yeah, it's just like when sometimes you're just sitting, like like you're sitting on the couch, watching your kids, and they're not, they might not be doing like nothing amazing at the moment, but like but you catch yourself smiling, like you like like with joy, you're watching your kids, and you're like, just the way they interact with each other, you'll be like, wow, like it's so I feel that's like, yeah, exactly, it's a great analogy.
Do you think your kids will follow your footsteps?
Man, it's I mean, it's ultimately it's up to them, right? To I'm gonna try to and that's part of my answer as well, like, because the way everything was organic for me, if I say yes, I want them to, I'm gonna start adding the pressure, but it's up to them. I'm gonna, if they decide to do that, they will have all the support, but if they don't choose that, they're crushed. They don't get any support.
But like
if they decide to go to college, I'm not paying for that.
Write it off. Write them off.
No, I'm kidding.
That's the organic quote.
That's the organic. Yeah, have everything here and nothing over there. What do you want?
Make your choices.
You're on your own now.
Are you sure?
Oh man, that's so awesome to see that kind of story and that kind of success path, because that's really how I'm looking at this. I mean, you started, like, as I'm kind of summarizing this entire conversation in your life, you started in not so bright side. Like, your father is missing early on in your life. You don't have the father figure. Your mom is doing amazing job kind of creating this perception where life is beautiful anyway, right? And then you go and you follow your dream. You want to fight. You want to, no matter what, there are obstacles, the life takes you in different directions, and you still continue on following it with this very positive outlook on life. Let me just ask you flat out, what in the world is wrong with you? Like, why are you so positive? There's no so many positive people in life. What's going on? Is this hands are rubbing off on you?
I guess, but don't get me wrong, I get cranky sometimes, my wife will tell you all about it, but I get cranky, I get moody, but but not in a way that, I get pissed, but not towards what life is giving me, right? I'm not like the type, they're like, okay, life gave me this, oh, life sucks, why do I deserve that? No, definitely not that. I'm not feeling sorry for myself. I'm not feeling sorry for what I have, the cards that was drawn to me. But yeah, but I definitely get it. Definitely, I'm not perfect. Everybody gets moody.
You're not perfect. Gary thinks he's perfect.
Yeah, sure. Yep, that's me.
Listen, Hollis, I mean, what an amazing story. I'm so mind blown about everything you're talking about. I'm wrapping my head around this. As we wrapping up this conversation, first of all, thank you for sharing everything with us. But we every episode we wrap up with 5 questions that Gary's going to throw at you, and we didn't tell you about this. This is kind of a small surprise. Some of the questions are silly, some of them are more serious, but I want you to think about it in a sense of first thing that comes to your mind, and very kind of quick and rapid response of what what's triggering inside your brain, and some conversation will generate off of that.
Yeah. So the first one we touched on a little bit, and since you started at such a young age, it's hard for you to maybe pinpoint some things. But the first one is always, what was it like the first time you stepped on the mat?
Yeah, I know. I can't say like what does it feel like every time I step on the mat? It always feels great. I feel more comfortable sitting on the mats, than sitting on the couch at home.
All right. What has been your most rewarding achievement?
I guess being a father, by far. Cannot even compare.
All right. Have you ever wanted to quit?
Jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
No,
No.
definitely not. No.
There was never a point in your life where you're like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
No. Like, what else would I do? I don't know how to do anything else.
I'm just asking.
Yeah. You forgot he didn't get that degree his mom wanted.
Exactly. I didn't. You know, I make my. You know, I took my not chances, my options in. I cut my options in half.
There you go. All right. Describe your feelings when you got your black belt.
I feel that this is a little bit different for me.
Mhm.
You know, I feel that people get so emotional, right? I see, you know, because it's such a like, you know, and I know for sure, man, you know, get the black belt is like probably like one of the hardest things someone could do, right? But maybe because for me, I knew it was just like another. I was born into jiu-jitsu, and I'm gonna die into jiu-jitsu. I felt there was just another, you know, landmark, you know. So you know, so it wasn't like, you know, probably not as rewarding. I didn't have as a rewarding feeling as, you know, a lot of people do, you know. So
It was expected, you thought.
yeah, it's not something that is actually, you know, it's just like, you know, I wasn't, you know, it's not that I was worried with the time, well, you know, time frame of it, you know, it's just like, yeah, it's gonna happen. You know, it's just like, to me, it was more of a consequence than achievement.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice. All right. And then I already know the answer to this one, but do you wash your belt?
I do not wash my belt. My belt have been washed, and that was one of the things that upset me. and I wasn't very positive about it.
No? How come? Why were you so upset about it?
Yeah, I never washed my belt, right? I mean, you know, we can go into the whole story. You know, how people didn't used to wash the belt, how back then, you know, in a martial arts, you know, world, like people figure out like who was the toughest guy in the room with the was the guy with the dirtiest belt, right? So this and that. Therefore, you know, you acquire all your knowledge is in your belt, this and that. But yeah, but that was something that I was never done. I never done it. You know, I feel there is like, you know, if it's a part of the tradition that I keep. Some people will say, "Oh, nasty, this and that." I never got any skin disease or anything from a belt. I feel that a belt is a belt. You know, you hang it dry. I think you're fine. You know, if you keep your belt inside your bag, then yeah, we're gonna have a problem. But you know, I finish every training session. I hang my belt. They're there, getting, you know, air on it. You know, getting some sun. So I think viruses and bacteria don't like, you know, fresh air and sun and light exposure. So that's the way I clean my belt. And I got upset when my belt got washed and dried because it shrunk. So yeah,
There's that.
and it didn't look, and it didn't look as good, you know. So I was like,
You take it outside, kick it around a little bit.
you know. So those are my reasons.
Perfect.
Hollis, as we wrapping up this episode, first of all, thank you for the conversation. Thank you for sharing your story and some of the personal things. Actually, I mean, it's great to hear how somebody in your position and growing up within the Gracie family, you know, encountered, you know, similar challenges as everybody else of us, some of us, and it continue through this jiu-jitsu journey as the life continues. And you change places several times, you moved continents, you move countries, and so on, all with the pure you know, thoughts and a goal of continuing of jiu-jitsu lifestyle and continue sharing that with other people. Before we wrap this up, can you tell us where can people find you? If anybody wants to connect with you, social media, websites, where do you teach? Where's your academy?
Yes, I teach, my academy is in Old Bridge, New Jersey, right? You can find me at RollesGracieAcademy.com. That's the page of the academy. I also teach at Renzo's in Middletown, in Jersey as well. All the social media. I'm not as active as on Facebook as much. I decided to take a break from Facebook. I'm more active on Instagram, but mostly, posting stuff, not really reading much, and not just I think I needed to a little social media detox, but
I think we all could use that.
You can find me there, social media, Facebook, all of those.
Beautiful. Well,
All right.
if you're ever in Chicago area or you're planning coming by when all this craziness kind of blows over, please let me know. I would love to have you
Sure.
at the academy once again. It's been a
And
couple years.
Same here. If you guys are ever in the area here, please come by. Yeah.
All right.
We sure
Hey,
will. Yeah.
real quick, I just want to say thanks for your optimism, and also congratulations on becoming a U.S. citizen.
For sure, man.
That was
For
recent.
When you were
Yes.
talking, yeah.
For
So-
sure, that's and it's, I don't want to even mean this you're rubbing in, but man, 2021 was like a rough year for a lot of people, more people than last, but I cannot complain about 2021. In May, my daughter was born. In July, I purchased a house, and in December, I became a U.S. citizen. So man, how come I gonna complain? I cannot complain about anything.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's all about perspective, and that's what it boils down to. Life is going to throw curveballs at us, just like jiu-jitsu does. Sometimes there are situations that were completely out of our control. It's all about the troubleshooting that we talked about earlier today, and figuring stuff out and having the positive, optimistic view on life.
Yes.
Thank you for being here, Rolles. It's a great conversation with you. We'll stay in touch, and that's it. Let's wrap this up.
All right. Take care. Thank you so much. Peace.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.